Well, tonight we're talking about the value of the Word of God. And we're looking at the second half of James 1. Hopefully you've wrestled with that. Now, if you have wrestled with it, you see that there's a ton of different subjects here. So there's a lot to potentially talk about. But there's this overriding idea that's good to wrestle with. And that's the idea that the Word of God brings freedom. He says, what's he say? That the looking into the perfect law that gives freedom. And in many ways, James is encouraging us to live in light of that law. And that's what he says in all of James, actually. He says, if you believe this stuff, you ought to do it. But when you read it, does it feel like freedom, or does it feel like almost like shackles and difficulty, like all this stuff you're supposed to do and all this stuff you're supposed to be, and it seems almost oppressive, like it was easier when I didn't believe this stuff? But I want you to think about, in what way is obeying the Word of God actually freedom? In what ways are following God actually not something that shackles you but frees you? One theologian I was reading says one of the problems in our culture today is we've misunderstood where the virtue of choice comes. We think there's incredible virtue with having the freedom to choose, that we want children to have the freedom to choose, and everyone has freedom to choose, like there's some great virtue in choosing. But actually the virtue lies in that which is chosen, not in the actual choosing. What do I mean by that? Well, think about someone who's an alcoholic or has a substance abuse problem. Is it so wonderful to be able to give him the freedom to choose whether to drink or not? No, his problem is that he feels enslaved because of that choice. What he really wants is the freedom to choose not to drink and to live in that freedom, the virtue of the thing chosen. And so really what the Bible would say is that actually we are kind of enslaved now. And we do the things we don't want to do. We do things that harm us and harm others. And God's inviting us now to live in the freedom of how we were created to be. So chew on that right now. What sense is doing the right thing and doing righteousness and all these different things he mentions in this passage? In what way is that actually living in freedom? Freedom from fear, freedom from shame, freedom from condemnation, freedom from guilt. Explore that idea. Hope you have a good discussion tonight.